afternoon, everybody. Sorry, need my mic over here. All right, I want to hit you right away at the beginning here with a couple of quotes. So the title of this today is Perfectionism is a Lie. It is a lie, a pernicious lie. And the other one is Don't let the perfect become the enemy of the good. Perfectionism is a lie. Don't let the perfect become the enemy of the good. Now, these are two of my favorite quotes. They're almost like mantras for me that I use to help combat that relentless drive towards perfectionism. So, quick question for you guys watching. How many of you suffer from perfectionism? If you do, go ahead and type it in the chat box or the responses to the video, even if you're watching this as a recorded video later, because owning it and putting it out there takes a lot of the sting and the power out of perfectionism. So have a little courage and go ahead and just own it and say, yes, I'm a perfectionist. Now, what are some of the signs of perfectionism that show up for you? Again, go ahead and type them in the chat box. If you can share that, it'll be for the good of everyone watching. Now, here are some that I've seen for myself and for people that I've worked with. That constant feeling of never feeling good enough, never being able to feel like a project is good and complete so that you can set it down and let it go. Lying awake at night or waking up in the middle of the night worrying about one tiny little detail that you forgot in that report that you submitted, or an email that you sent to a client, or a project that you're working on. Ruminating and obsessing about getting everything right, even when you're not at work and you're with your family or your friends, or you're outside of that area where you have to be performing and you just want to be present, but you can't set it down. Here's another one, a constant fear or anxiety that one little detail that you missed is going to show up, and then everybody's going to see it and they're going to point fingers and they're going to laugh at you, and you'll be exposed as the total and complete failure that you are in front of the entire world, and you'll live in a van down by the river. If you're a Chris Farley fan, you'll know that reference. Now, the list could go on, and of course we make fun of it, but when that tape is running in your head, it is exhausting, and really leads to a lot of stress and burnout. A couple of weeks ago in one of these videos, I talked about how should is one of the most violent words in the English language, and how should almost always leads to feelings of shame. And I like to think of shame and perfectionism as they're like two polarities that are actually intimately connected. So think about this with me for a minute. So perfectionism shows up as that voice in your head telling you that you're not enough, that you're not good enough, that you're not doing it right. But it's more than that. It's not just that what you're doing isn't good enough. When perfectionism gets in and connected to shame, it's not just what you're doing isn't good enough. It's that you aren't good enough. I'm not good enough. And that can be absolutely debilitating to carry that around and take it from one who knows. I have worked through a lot of this myself. Now, the direct outcome of that kind of a belief that you are not good enough and that kind of self-talk is shame. So you can see how perfectionism on one hand is tied to shame on the other. You might even find it helpful to remember this acronym for shame that I heard from, actually a client told me this recently. Shame stands for should have already mastered everything. S-H-A-M-E, should have already mastered everything. So if you suffer from perfectionism, as I do and as many driven, high-achieving leaders do, then this constant feeling of needing to fix and improve everything is actually both an asset, but it can also lead to stress, anxiety, overwhelm, and burnout. So it's an asset because you probably are driven to strive to do everything well. And that means that you consistently are pursuing excellence. And you probably deliver really high quality products or services to your clients or your customers or to your employers consistently. And that is a good thing. It's probably gotten you very successful. What I find is that everybody hits a point where the good of those things gets you to of that drive for doing things well, gets you to a certain point, but then there's this tipping point where it's like you're trying to go beyond what's actually possible. And that's where we start to get into trouble. If you don't know how to turn off that inner critical voice that's always driving to do better and more, it can turn quickly from an asset to something that undercuts your success by wearing you out physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And that's where it can show up as stress and burnout and anxiety. So that's why I see perfectionism and shame as being like two opposite poles on a spectrum. Both are lies. Both perfectionism and shame are lies. There is no such thing as perfect. Unless you want to step back and look at the whole of the universe and creation and the divine source of it. That all together is perfect. But our little human role in that is not to be perfect. Perfect is an impossible standard that we hold ourselves to. And there's no such thing as an entirely perfect person, but there's also no such thing as an entirely shameful person. Shame is just how we feel when we don't measure up to that perfect, impossible standard that we have for ourselves. But the good, or we might say even good enough, or even excellence, now that's possible, and that lies in the middle of that spectrum between perfectionism and shame. The truth is that good, really good, even excellent are always possibilities. Those are real. It's the perfectionism and the ideal of the perfect that's not real, that's a lie. And that middle ground of what's good and even excellent, that's the space that we want to live in as leaders, because that's where we have our power and that's where we offer true value to the people that we're serving. So centering for wisdom, this process that I teach, helps you to stay out of the lies that are underneath or part of the belief system that upholds perfectionism and shame, and helps you to stay in the actual truth. And I mean God's truth, the divine truth, and the reality with a capital R of what good things are really possible, so that you can go for what's good and possible instead of always reaching beyond to what's perfect and ideal but actually not possible. So to know what is the best possible service or product or value that you can offer, and to pursue that with a healthy balance, is how you stay in high-level leadership for long periods of time without ruining your health and your relationships or tanking your own success. It's in that middle ground of knowing what's good and excellent and possible that your success and power lies. So the added value and the beauty of practicing a daily centering practice that leads to this centering for wisdom is that not only do you learn what goodness you have to offer to the world, but you also touch into a deeper inner core of goodness, that you can live from that space of inner freedom, of joy, and flow. Now, that inner core of goodness is inside of you. It's inside of everyone, and I mean everyone. It was placed there by God, or however you view that universal intelligence that is the creative source of your being. That goodness is there. It was placed by you. So perfectionism in some ways is like telling God that you can do it better than God can. But the way to pursue excellence as a leader is to allow the creative energies and goodness that God has already placed in you to come into fruition. Using your knowledge, your skills, your tools, your wisdom, your experience, while surrendering the outcomes to that higher divine wisdom that is always desiring and guiding you towards what is best for you, what is best for your business or your organization, for your family, and for the common good of your community. So centering for wisdom is about living in that aligned divine flow. Now, remember that this inner core of goodness and creativity is inside of you and every single person. So if you want to see how I help leaders center in so that they can access that inner divine wisdom that's within you, if you want to access that and get rid of the things that are blocking it and allow that to flourish and shine in the world, and live each and every day as aligned as humanly possible, which nobody does perfectly, by the way, then I've got two things to share with you and to invite you to. So first, you can book a free breakthrough session with me right now by clicking on the link that I'm going to post here. Post a couple of links. So the first one is to thomasjbushlack.com/apply. And that one will take you to set up a free breakthrough session with me where we'll talk about what you need to do next, and what obstacles are in the way, and come up with a concrete game plan to get you moving in that direction of aligned flow towards goodness and excellence. So if you're ready for that, go ahead and click that now and I'll talk to you. If you want to see a little bit more first about how I get these results for your clients, then I want to invite you to click and watch my free masterclass. Now that's the Join Now link. So you can click that right now and sign up to watch it. After you watch that masterclass, you'll still have a chance to book a call with me if you like. But either option is going to be about 45 minutes, a gift that you give to yourself right now to start letting go of the lie of perfectionism that's driving that stress and anxiety and overwhelm and burnout and maybe even shame, and start moving toward your inner core of goodness and wisdom so that you can unleash that divine wisdom and light into the world. It's there, but you won't experience the transformation unless you take some kind of action. And not when the time is perfect, not tomorrow when it feels, like, oh, now I have the time to do this. Remember, perfectionism alive. There will never be a perfect time, but right now. So go ahead and click one of those two links. Book your free breakthrough session or watch the masterclass to get a little more info and then book your session. And let's get you back to center, sharing your divine goodness with the world as you were created to do. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Peace and have a great day.